For him to not be able to go to the facility is beyond bizarre. I don't know of an NFL facility that closes during the season at all. For him to say Josh McDaniels specifically is reaching out to the mother of his child is odd.
Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Sherman explains why the Raiders may have actually locked Chandler Jones out of the facility. Plus, defensive end Chandler Jones also speaks out on social media for the first time since his meltdown on Instagram. Plus, Max Crosby has also commented on the Chandler Jones situation. And Darren Waller is still talking about the odd season with the Raiders last year now that he's a New York Giant. Remember to like and subscribe for more Raiders content. So Richard Sherman, Keyshawn Johnson, and Skip Bayless talked about the Chandler Jones situation on their show today. What Richard Sherman said here is quite interesting about whether or not the facility was open for the Raiders. Chandler Jones claimed that the Raiders locked him out of the facility.
The weird thing about this is just the timing of it. I don't understand. I don't know of an NFL facility that closes during the season at all.
Does not close during the season at all. And keep in mind, this was not on Labor Day. People tried to blame this on Labor Day. Chandler Jones said that he was not able to enter the facility on Tuesday morning, which is not Labor Day. But instead, this was a closed facility. And also, the Raiders were having a team meeting on Tuesday at the facility. So the fact that Chandler Jones is trying to go in there on Tuesday, it's closed, is very alarming.
For him to not be able to go to the facility is beyond bizarre. This is one of your best players, and you won't let him in the facility.
And that's what's so crazy is the fact that he has to work out. The game is just less than a week away. He needs to train now. The fact that they were not letting him into the facility, that is huge because it is not normal for it to be closed. You can't just blame it on that.
You won't let him in the facility to work out. You don't want him working out anywhere else because he's not covered. So if he gets hurt somewhere else, he's going to go on the NFI list, the non-football injury list, and not get his money.
And that's huge to me. The fact that Chandler Jones has to work out at the team facility. He can't just go ahead and work out on his own. If he gets on the NFI list, like Richard Sherman explained, if he's working out elsewhere, getting injured outside the facility, then he loses money. So it's really crazy that the Raiders aren't letting this guy get into game shape and are forcing him to work out outside of the facility where he could get screwed on his contract.
For him to say Josh McDaniels specifically is reaching out to the mother of his child is odd. It's odd for a...
Don't even get me started on Josh McDaniels hitting up his baby mama. I'm sorry, the last person you want to call your baby mama is genius Josh McDaniels. And it's also odd that Chandler Jones said that the baby mama they contacted he had not talked to for 5 years. Why would they not just contact his current partner? Obviously, his current partner is more likely to be his emergency contact, unlike his former. We did not get a press conference from Max Crosby, but it was very critical to hear from this guy. Chandler Jones unfollowed him on Instagram. He unfollowed the Raiders and Max Crosby on Instagram. These guys are supposed to be close. When he first joined the Raiders, there's a lot of hype there. But now, Max Crosby, responding on the Chandler Jones situation, asked about it by a reporter of The Athletic, Vic Tafer, and all Max Crosby said is everything's in-house, we're good. Not saying too much. Everything's good. Everything's in-house. Well, Max Crosby, you did lose a follower on your Instagram. That's going to hurt your numbers at least a little bit. And we finally heard from Chandler Jones since all of this happened on social media, but this is all he gave us right here is just God is good all the time. That is all he posted. He hasn't liked anything. He hasn't replied to anything on Twitter. He hasn't posted anything on Instagram. I think he had a little prayer there that he posted on Instagram, but this is actually kind of insane that he's speaking out. Josh McDaniels said it was a private matter and they weren't going to get into it. Chandler Jones seems like he wants people to know he's feeling good in terms of his mentality. And I wonder if this is going to lead to Chandler Jones saying even more. The fact that Josh McDaniels is calling it a private matter implies that the onus is on Chandler Jones, implies that he's dealing with a personal issue. But if Chandler Jones disagrees and feels like he's perfectly fine, he has a legitimate complaint with this organization, and if he's going to end up just getting slandered in that sort of way, he might end up speaking out even more than this, letting everybody know God is good all the time. Maybe he's getting a wish granted. I mean, if he's saying all these things that he doesn't want to play for the Raiders, maybe the Raiders are working something out where he can be let go, and perhaps perhaps that is why he is praising God, because he may be free from the Raiders quite soon. Devontae Adams was also asked about the Chandler Jones situation, and he didn't say anything. He wasn't trying to say squat, saying that everybody's just focusing on what they got to focus on and it's game week and that's the most important thing, yada, yada, yada. But this Chandler Jones situation is just so weird, like Richard Sherman was saying. Also, the fact that the Raiders drafted Tyree Wilson with pick number 7, this guy's intended to be his replacement in the future. And it seems like if that was the case, maybe Chandler Jones was not going to get too many reps early on. It would just make more sense to all of us if that was the main problem. But it seems like there's a larger issue going on, because while you're observing this Raiders team, you know that Tyree Wilson just played in his first preseason matchup recently. He had not been participating in OTAs and in much of training camp at all. And actually, if Chandler Jones really is not going to play this week, which it seems like it's likely he's not going to play, Malcolm Kuntz is more in line to start, according to The Athletic, than somebody like Tyree Wilson, because they plan on easing this guy into the game. So it seems like there must be some larger issue happening with Chandler Jones and the Las Vegas Raiders and head coach Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler in particular. And Darren Waller is now with the New York Giants. People are hyped about this guy. Giants fans think he's going to go off and they got a complete steal for a 3rd round pick. What's interesting is he was on the Pivot podcast and he talked about his experience with the Raiders last year. And I thought what he said here was quite important, which talked about the fact that he struggled to find a role with this team, even though he had already got his contract resolved and got healthy at the beginning of the year.
Then you get into early on in the season, I was just not really knowing what my role was in that offense. Nobody in this franchise's history has had more catches than me, but now here I am figuring out why I'm standing on the sideline more than I'm on the field. So just a lot of mental things going on with me, which probably all that spiritually as well, leading to me physically getting hurt.
So that's interesting. He was wondering why he was on the sideline early in the year. He didn't feel like he was that involved in the game plan through Josh McDaniels' system. And when he said nobody in the franchise has had more catches than him in a single season, he still holds the record as the most catches in a single year by a Raiders receiver. It's notable that he said he felt spiritually down and maybe that led to getting him hurt. I don't necessarily know how that's the case, but it seems like this is another guy who Josh McDaniels had a problem with. He's going to try to prove himself with the New York Giants this year, and Giants fans and people around the organization seem to be very hyped on Darren Waller. They are anticipating a great season from this guy, and if he goes out there and balls out and looks amazing, and the Raiders only got a 3rd round pick in return from him, that's just going to be another L for this franchise.
But here it's like they ask a lot of questions. They want to know what you're thinking, why, what do you like to do more, and so to offer input is a really cool thing. Because coaches and players got to be in partnership. We're all together and shouldn't be clashing with each other. We're all going in the same direction.
On one level, the Raiders were able to get a 3rd round pick and then select Michael Mayer in the 2nd round. However, the guy is not starting yet. He is still listed here at number 2. You got Austin Hooper at number 1. I don't think this guy is going to hit the ground running and have a better season than Darren Waller this year or anything like that. But maybe the Raiders will get a bigger return on this guy after a few seasons. We hope to hear from Chandler Jones and get more clarity on this insane situation happening right before the first game. We'll keep you up to date on everything happening with the Raiders. My name is WiFiWillie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.